Hey, YouTube. Let's do this. And hey, everybody, welcome to Squatch Talk. I'm Pat. How's everybody doing tonight? Glad you could be here. Glad to see everybody, man. What's up, Timmy boy? Hey there, Cindy, Raptor, Faster Man 3. What's up, my Jimmy B, Slackmate, Jay Fritz. Hey, how you doing, man? Ernie and Abby. Hey, welcome to the show. Glad you guys are here. Who else we got? Let's see. Mary, welcome back. Thank you for being here. And the whole gaggle here. Squatch Bait. We got Squatch Bait. Danielle. Who else we got? Jonathan. What's up, bud? Thanks for being here. So, hello. How's everybody doing tonight? Tonight we're gonna do we try and do open mic. Worked out pretty good last time. We'll see what happens tonight. Therefore, that's why I have the email up. So if anybody wants to jump in, be on the show, get a hold of me through the email. So yeah, there's a little bit of a vetting process. Or if you know me on Facebook and you can message me on Facebook, you can hit me up there. So to any of the usual gaggle that might be around tonight, welcome on, and or any newcomers. We'll see what happens. So what's going on? What's up in the Bigfoot world? What do you guys want to talk about? I guess we'll just chat for a minute, man. See what starts happening. Hope everybody's doing well, and let's talk some Squatch. Oh, there's hey, what's up? There's Brian and Chewy. What's up? Let's see. I probably want to keep this on here. Yep. Right. What's up, Worm? Glad you're here. Not sure I've seen you in chat before, but thanks for watching. Thanks for being here tonight, and thanks for the well wishes. Appreciate it. So, all right, we'll fire. Let's start. Let's start somewhere. Let's see. Where did I do with that? Jimmy B, you got a question? Fire. What's up, Raptor? Yeah, I see you're here too. And Rod, what's up? Rod Dupree. What's going on, man? How you doing tonight? Glad you're here. And yes, hello. Raptor says hello. All right. Question incoming. Do you think they found an actual Bigfoot during the Mount St. Helens eruption? Nope. I have zero reason to believe that. There's some kind of kooky stories out there. There's no evidence whatsoever that happened. You know, again, there's some kooky stories attached to that. I know Jay has talked about that. He's talked about that on air and also in person with me, or privately, because he was there. Jay was there. Jay Birch. He was there when it happened. He was in the National Guard when it happened. So he was like, he worked that event. And he also, so since he was there, he was working the event in the National Guard. He's like, to him, it's like, it's ridiculous. Like nothing like that happened. These stories that these people are telling are, they're just outlandish stories. I mean, people take events and smother it in Bigfoot sauce. That's what happens, right? That's why we have the whole Dyatlov Pass. Somebody in the Bigfoot world took, which was at the time kind of a mystery of the Dyatlov Pass, the missing Russian hikers. Not missing, but they were all found dead from hypothermia. And they decided to change just a couple of things in the narrative and smother it in Bigfoot sauce, and the Bigfoot world ate it up, gobbled it up. So I think Mount St. Helens is another one, given that area, right? It's kind of a no-brainer for somebody with a YouTube channel or whatever that decides to take an event that happened and start sprinkling in the BS, change the narrative, smother it in Bigfoot sauce, and 100,000 views later, now you have a Mount St. Helens narrative story that runs rampant in the Bigfoot world. So no evidence whatsoever. So I'm not sure what you mean, Timmy Boy. Like, agree, Pat. The Miller doc was right there, and that's is that ringing a bell with me, or am I fooling myself? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Timmy. Lundy. All right. Cool. Man, not a whole lot right now. It's unfortunately, man, just my whole, my entire situation right now is just is hurry up and wait. I can't even do, it's hard for me to do simple things, much less simple things that are Bigfoot related. It's very difficult. I'm trying, but there's a whole lot of hurry up and wait. So I'm being honest, it'd be easy to sit here and string people along and be full of crap like some people do and go, I got a big expedition next weekend and I think we're going to find some evidence, whatever, right? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, man, cool things are coming, but it's going to take a minute. It's going to take a minute, which it should. If I ever have anything interesting to bring to the table, bring back to you guys, or bring to the table at all, it's going to be a process to get there. It should be. Let me check the email. Okay. So, where are we at here? What are the Bigfoot facts? I don't know. Facts. Tens of thousands of documented anecdotal accounts So people are seeing something, or they're all lying. That's a fact. It seems to be that people are seeing something, and they're all describing pretty much the same thing in different parts of the country. They seem to leave bits of trace evidence behind, like their tracks. I don't know. Is that a fact? You know, it's hard to frame that as a fact. But I guess the biggest fact of all is that there is this thing that we colloquially call Bigfoot, which is known as the Bigfoot phenomena, that doesn't have an actual explanation. Maybe a good starting point, but not an actual explanation. And yeah, Jimmy's kind of backing me up on that, like saying the same thing. Oh, okay. I got you. So I probably have heard of that Miller doc thing before. And yeah. No thanks. I'll pass. I'll pass on the Miller doc. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not. I know what you mean, like Timmy Boy, when you say wrong subject for facts. And yeah, like I get the joke. But in and of itself, it's not the wrong subject for facts. It's just that nobody's gathering data. Nobody's really gathering data. Not to the point where it's so significant that we can start making determinations, i.e., facts. All right, so see, here's our in-house expert debunker. Nikki knows all this stuff like 10,000 times better than I do, and so she's basically saying the Miller doc was debunked. She summed it up pretty well, it sounds like. So thanks, Nikki. Thanks for that debunk. Appreciate it. And yeah, so I do have a lot of coals in the fire with the Bigfoot stuff. But yeah, it is a hurry up and wait. There's nothing I could really do. I mean, the next opportunity I have to make some content for the channel that I want to make, that I think the audience will enjoy or appreciate, the next chance I have to make that content, I'll make it. But that's been on my mind to do for 6 weeks now, maybe almost a couple of months. And I either drop the ball myself personally by not doing it on the right day where I could have, or life gets in the way. So there's a lot of dealing with life stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of coals and coals in the fire, irons in the fire. Okay. Sorry. Deal with something there. Where am I at? What's up, Blount County? Glad you're here. Glad you like the show. I appreciate that. I do. Thank you very much. and I'm glad you're here. I appreciate the kind words. I really do. What's up, 3PO? There's not any news that I know of. Like define Bigfoot news. None. Nothing I could think of. Not even any outrageous claims. Like, I'm not sure. The dog keeps chasing its tail. So that's about it for Bigfoot news. I don't know. You guys feel free to enlighten me. And you know me, I will opine. I will opine for sure. Wow. Yeah, there's just not a lot of people around tonight. I don't see any green dots over here. Okay. All right. Thanks, Nina. Appreciate that. Thanks for being here. Okay, yeah. More confirmation. Yeah, the Miller document was debunked. All right, switching gears a little bit. Like, yeah, man, like, do I believe in extraterrestrial? And then goes on to say, like, UFOs and UAPs. Like, that word believe. I have no faith based like thinking towards that stuff. I think there's something to that. I think there's something to it. But that word, that good old word unidentified, right, is just that. So, it's hard to, you can't really, if it's unidentified, then that's what it is. You can't just, you can't start filling that lack of knowledge with knowledge, something's unidentified, therefore I'll identify it. Like, it must be from another planet, or it must be, alien, as we say. So it fascinates me. I did an entire show about Bob Lazar and Area 51, the whole Area 51, element one. What was it? Element one. I can't remember the name. Element 115 or whatever. That whole story fascinated the heck out of me. And then I started getting wrapped up in the idea of, super heavy elements that aren't found in our solar system because it wasn't conducive for the formation of that, but there are certainly other places in the universe or in the galaxy where there are elements we haven't discovered yet because they just don't exist in our solar system. So this whole idea of a heavy element like 115 could possibly be so strong and manipulated in a way where it can create its own gravitational field fascinates me, because like you would have superhero powers, like literally. If you could do something like that, you would have you'd be like Superman. I mean, so I did an entire show on that, like about, I don't know, 6 months ago or something. Like, I don't know. I might like repost that one at some point because it was different and fun, but it was within the, the sort of general conversation of, things like Bigfoot and cryptids and UFOs. So yeah, that stuff fascinates me. But I can't say that I've ever seen. I can't really say that I've ever seen anything in the air that I couldn't explain. I got footage of something like that though, but I didn't witness that with my own eyes. That footage was given to me. So no. Not that I can ever recall, which would be something that would stick with me. It's not really. No, I haven't. I can't say that I've seen something in the air that I just couldn't explain with my own eyes. I've stood next to people who had no clue what they were looking at, and I explained to them exactly what they were looking at, and they didn't want to believe me. Like, I'm like, that's a satellite, or whatever. Yeah. I mean, I've seen the International Space Station several times. I knew exactly what it was. It's pretty easy. I mean, half the time I knew it was coming. I knew it was going to be coming over the horizon from northwest to, southeast, just because of because I had been following the trajectory. What's up, Gary? Glad you're here, bud. And Thomas, too. Thomas is here. What's up, Thomas? It's open mic. You can jump in if you want. Let's see. Where am I at? Nowhere. I am nowhere. Nowhere fast. Did I miss anything? Well, Czar is a fascinating dude. Yeah, he is. I mean, again, that whole thing fascinates me. Like, it's so weird how, like, Lazar's explanation made sense. And then, of course, the element was discovered synthetically years after he talked about it. So,
it's out of control. It's out of control.
What are you doing, Petey?
He's out of control.
Why? What is he doing? What is he eating?
He's pulling things out of your backpack.
Pulling things out of my backpack. Bad boy. Bad boy, Petey. Petey, are you being bad boy? Pulling stuff out of my backpack? Okay. All right. I'm put what? Petey, stop. All right. Let me catch up. I mean, I can, Thomas. But or yeah, because I'm not again, I don't I don't post it publicly in chat. I don't know. All right, a couple things here. All right, so Blount Blount County asks what got me into the conversation about Bigfoot. Uh, and I guess he's kind of lurking. Um, Basically, me and my buddy Ernie would just sit around the campfire talking about the subject, and we were both really interested in it, and it didn't understand, what was going on. Like, why is this phenomena such a thing, and so we kind of got into it and talked about it, and one day I decided, I was like, basically I said, hey, we should take these campfire conversations onto a podcast. And so I created Squatch Talk, and that was God, almost 5 years ago. Yeah, I think almost 5 years ago. And here we are. So the discussion has definitely expanded and changed and gotten bigger and better. But it was born out of curiosity. It was born out of curiosity. Ernie and I had nothing to do with Bigfoot. We'd never had, a Bigfoot encounter or even really like heard anything weird in the woods. Even though eventually that would happen as far as hearing weird things in the woods. I can't say it was a Bigfoot encounter, but I don't know what it was to this day. And so what got me into the Bigfoot subject? Curiosity. And it's the one thing that keeps me here. I'm still curious because there are no good answers yet. Like, there's no good evidence. There's no good answers. But hopefully that'll change soon. Yeah, I don't know, Nina. Like you say, I've seen these big drones as big as a small car in my area. What are they? I don't know. It's kind of hard. Well, it depends on if you're seeing during the day or at night. Because at night, it's very hard to judge how big something is or how far away it is. You have to have a lot of experience with dealing with visualizing things in the sky and knowing where the lights on aircraft are, and to be able to identify. Like, I can identify aircraft pretty well at night. I know the difference between a Cessna and a Boeing 707, and can immediately understand the altitude difference between the two as well. And I know a drone when I see it at night. It's pretty obvious. It's green and red lights in a very tight package. But I mean, that's fooled me in the past too. The first time I ever saw a drone flying at night, I had no idea what I was looking at. It looked like a Cessna going, 5,000 miles an hour. I'm like, what the hell am I looking at? So yeah. I don't know. I don't know what you're looking at, but I know it's easy to kind of misidentify size and altitude. What is he? What are you doing, Pete? Yeah, he is. Can you find him a Chewy or something? Get him interested in a Chewy?
He's just digging.
All right. I guess Thomas has to dip. All right. 7 p.m. It's 9, almost 10. So, okay. 3 hours. Gotcha. All right. Well, thanks for stopping by, Thomas. Appreciate you, man. You come back on next time. I did get a message, but that's not to be on. Okay. Well, just can't anyway. Well, that's cool. Let's get back to StreamYard. Now, check again. Check this. Yeah, interesting comment from Kevin. What's up, Kevin? Glad you're here. That says, Pat, I have faith in my friends who have had Class A encounters. I know a few as well. I have no doubt the species exist. The Relic hominid species is in its infancy related to research. Yeah, I mean, pretty much, man. I mean, I agree with you. You know, I mean, people, when you know people that have had that Class A, which is they saw it and they saw it pretty well, and they saw it well enough to go, nope, wasn't a guy in a hoodie, nope, it wasn't even an airsoft player in a ghillie suit, or it certainly wasn't a bear. Like, they're sitting there staring it down, you know, eye to eye for even 5-10 seconds, right? Sometimes at like 10 yards, you know, sometimes at 30 yards, like whatever. I mean, they're seeing it good enough to know what the hell they're not looking at. You know, that's a hard thing to argue. You know, like, well, you didn't see that, you know, like, huh? Who am I to say that? I mean, and so it's very compelling, especially if you know the person, you've developed any kind of relationship with them, any kind of trust, you know, and that doesn't mean they're not lying. You know, I'll just say that right off the bat. Doesn't mean that they're not nuts, you know, or schizophrenic, or there's something else going on there that maybe you don't understand, you know. But if there's enough of them, it becomes very compelling as to, well, not just these people I've met and gotten to know. Oh, there's tens of thousands of others who have talked about this, and they all describe the same thing. There are no purple Bigfoots. There are no Bigfoots with wings. There are no Bigfoots with green horns coming out of them. You know, like, nobody says that stuff. They're all describing almost the exact same thing. There's something to that, and it has not been explained. Period. Like, it hasn't. Where am I at? Let's wait. Oh yeah, cool, Brian and Chewy. I mean, it's open mic, so you can talk about that tonight if you want, man. You know, I've got a little experience with the potential, their vocals, from something I heard one night, and the fact that I've been listening to audio lately with a sort of a different attitude, I would say, more open mind than before. But you can pop in tonight if you want. Again, if you want to be on the show, anybody, just email me, and you'll probably get in. 98% chance I'll let you in. No, it's not. I don't know where this politics thing came up. I missed that in chat somehow. Oh, great. Yeah, there's I don't talk politics here. I don't. So you don't have to worry about that. No, Kevin. I haven't had Ron on. Scott Nelson. I'm sure I know who that is, but it escapes me for the moment. But you know, I thought about Ron, and to be honest with you, like that's a tough one for me. That's just that's kind of a tough one. Like, I'm not sure I want to have that discussion with Ron live on air. Is the best way I could put it. You know. Yeah. Like, I know how to get a hold of him. I'm sure he'd come on. But that's just leave. I'm just gonna leave that one kind of where it is for now. Scott Nelson, again, that one that escapes me. Not sure. Okay, yeah, I know who you're talking about. I got you. Yeah, so that was the guy that sort of joined in with Ron there on that discussion. So yeah, I know who you're talking about now. Thank you for refreshing me. And again, like there's so many reasons just to kind of like just leave that one where it's at and just not even go there. My God, man, the Seer sounds have been around for what, almost 50 years, or maybe 50 years. Like, man, like that has been that fruit has been squeezed. Like, the well is dry. The well is dry. Oh, there was something up here that caught my okay. There's a couple of things catching my attention here. And hold on, before I focus on that, let's just check the email real quick. Nope, still nothing in the queue for the email. So where are you at here? Yeah, right. So Estelle is not going to come on this show, number one. So like I don't think he doesn't do shows. But he's certainly not going to come on my show, especially if he looked into my channel at all, which oddly enough people don't do. it seems. But yeah, I would have Steve on. If he would come on my show, I would have him on, and I would definitely, I would ask him the tough questions. It would not be a sub grab on my part at all. So, and I would certainly let chat ask him whatever tough questions they wanted. So yeah, I hear you, 3PO. And what else did I see? So the Sierra sounds are very, like, on one hand, they're interesting. And on the other hand, I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure. I mean, I don't know what's going on there. I don't think that it was anything that had to do with a studio. People like to kind of throw that out there. Oh, those sounds were recorded in a studio in early 1970s. Like, man, no, nope. Like, you could tell that the sounds they're out in open air, and they were recorded on a type of device available at the time, which I can't remember the exact recording device it was. But it was a bit more professional at the time, a bit more of a professional audio recorder. So it wasn't just like an old school like tape deck or anything. Again, my biggest opinion about that is it's been around for 50 freaking years, and it's gained what, like, it's proved what? Nothing. It's proved absolutely nothing. I played the Sierra sounds for my mother, and she's a speech therapist, so she has some professionalism in sounds and vocals, and helping people who had problems, to improve on their speech. So, like, she literally a professional, and she was just like, it's nonsense. Just sounds like a bunch of like, she wasn't impressed at all. So that made me go, huh? Well, professionals don't care. So, it's a fun thing in the Bigfoot world, but that's about it. Here comes EMS. But yeah, something like that. What's up, Brain Bug? How you doing, man? Glad you're here. It's open mic tonight. Just letting you know. Well, of course, Kevin, I'd love to have Bob Gimlin on. That would be extremely difficult. There's too many. God, how do I say it? Gatekeepers. Sorta. I mean, I'm one person away from a conversation with Bob Gimlin, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen. And then there's other avenues to get to, to try and have a conversation with Bob. It might be two people away from that conversation. Probably not going to happen. I've never even tried, never even asked. Because it's one of those things. It seems like a big thing to ask. Like, hey man, can you help me get Bob on my show? I don't know. I guess, I mean, it never hurts to ask, but I'd love to have a conversation with Bob. It'd probably be one of the better Bob Gimlin interviews that have ever been published, to be honest with you. And I don't say that as a like this, man. It just I know I do things differently. I will ask things that I've never heard anybody ask him. That's how I know that. Is like there's already gaps there. It's like nobody's ever asked him enough about this or that part. They always want to go straight to the, meat and potatoes that's been talked about a billion jillion times. It's like, no, that's a mistake. Like, ask him something else about the event. Hell, ask him what kind of boots he was wearing. Like whatever, right? So, but good question. Gary, I can't answer questions like that because I don't have those answers, bro. I hope you figure it out one day. Sorry, I'm behind in chat, so Timmy boy, I don't know the context of their BS. Pat, you could say it like I'm not sure of that context. Sorry, I got behind in chat. Thank you, Brain Bug. And yes, it is a necklace. I appreciate that. Live and roll. Let's see. Oh my god. It was yeah, that's what I thought. It was a reel to reel. I mean, technically cassettes are reel to reel too. Old school cassette players. That's also reel to reel. So I know it was reel to reel, but I don't know the exact recording device or what kind of microphone was used. But given the technology at the time, I would assume it's some kind of condenser mic. And that's I don't know. Oh boy. It's all right, dude. We're not. Hey, that conversation is over. All right, Green.
He's done.
Okay, that conversation's over. Like we're not gonna hammer on it. And somebody did something that made me go something, and blah blah blah. Yeah. I'm sure somebody could do that, Brain. I mean, I would attempt to play it, honestly. There's a small chance my computer will crash if I go start playing the Sierra sounds. So, hey, if somebody in chat could put up a link in chat to listen to at least some examples. It doesn't have to be the whole thing. Just some examples of the Sierra sounds, so that Brainbug could go listen to that and then jump back in and let us know what he thinks.
Okay, cool. Yes.
Anybody? I'm sure Nikki will probably be on it. What's up, Jeff? Why don't you jump in here, man? I was wondering if you're going to show up tonight, man, because you haven't. I'd say you haven't been perusing the shows until I saw you on Mogs the other night. After the weekend, of course, But feel free to jump in, Jeff. I'd love to have you, actually. Let's see. Let's go back to. Still nothing there. Yeah, I mean, Scotch Bait. If you don't, I'm sure Nikki she'll be on top of that.
She can't. She's not a moderator. She used to be mod.
Huh?
She used to be a moderator.
Who?
Nikki. She's the only mods can do that.
Oh. Oh, really?
Yeah.
But
I'm on it.
God, I can't even say it. Like, of course, Nikki could be a moderator. Like, she's a trusted mod.
Yeah.
Well, I can't make her a moderator from here. Damn it. Can you make her a moderator? Squatchmate? You have that power?
She doesn't want to be a mod.
Okay. Never mind. See, everything got all. Okay. I see. Try and work at that. Okay. Well, you know what? I can drop a link in chat. So, okay. All right. Fair enough, Nikki. Sorry, I'm catching up the chat here. Nikki, can you message me a link? Or, I mean, I can go fishing for it, I guess, but I get super distracted. I get super distracted doing that. It's, you got it?
There's several of them.
All right.
Part 2?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Okay, here we go.
Well, then you could just, if you copy it. All right, there it is. If you guys can hear me, I have to do this. Can everybody hear me? Like, there's the link for you, Brain Bug. If you want to go listen to that, come back, tell me what you think. I don't think. I don't think Lockbeard was a mod, was he? Was he a mod? He may have been. But even if he was, like, the funny thing about that is, dude, like, Lockbeard doesn't ban, he doesn't ban people from his own channel, man, and he's had some real hardcore attacks there at times. So actually, dude, I probably trust Lockbeard. Basically, Lockbeard said the other day, he was like, there's no point in making me a mod on Pat's channel because I wouldn't ban anyone anyway. Like, I would have nothing to do except get rid of the Russian bots. So he would get that, but yeah. I mean, right now, that's the only thing I really need help with. All right, I guess the Wi-Fi's back. There. I'm interested. Hey, what's up, David Parker? Thanks for being here. Appreciate you being here and chiming in. The Sierra sounds are nothing like the Bigfoot we have in Missouri, here in Missouri. So that's interesting. I'm not sure exactly what you're saying with that, other than I think you're saying that in Missouri, where you're at, around Bigfoot audio or activity, it sounds different. Like it doesn't sound like the Sierra sounds. It sounds like it's something else entirely. So it doesn't even really remind you of that. I think that's what you're saying, but I'm not 100% sure. If you could clarify, that'd be great. All right, no, there we go. See, finally. Oh, wait, hold on. I gotta go back here. God, I miss Tim sometimes. You guys miss Tim? Does anybody miss Tim? Because like Tim's gone. He's super uber successful guy now, man. He's like hotshot dude. So should I get another producer? Should I find somebody else? Just quick poll. Do you miss Tim? I missed him. Did I copy it? Yeah, okay. I missed him. There we go. Oops, edit. Paste there. I missed him. What's chat saying? What? I'm here. Oh, wait. Here, where? Hold on. Huh? Oh. Not you, Timmy boy. Not you, Timmy boy. Tim, my producer. His little production studio is like right here, and I used to yell him, and I used to get on his case a lot because he's screwed up. But now that he's gone, I'm like, well, it's better to have him there than not. Tim. What's up, Derek? How you doing tonight? All right. Well, we have our first open micer. And yeah, what's up?
I'm your first open micer tonight.
You're the first open micer. Yes, and maybe the last.
Yeah. Well, how have you been?
I'm good, man. What's up? Welcome to the show. How are you doing, man?
Hanging in there. Hanging in there. It's getting cold again. Weird weather. Wasn't too bad for a few days. Now it's 10 below zero tonight. And then by the day after tomorrow, it's supposed to be back to 50 or 60 degrees again. So
sure, man. I mean, it's that wonderful smarch weather, I'll call it.
Yeah.
It's smarch weather. And very few people will get that, if anyone.
Yep, that is true.
Yeah. So if you know what smarch weather is and where that reference comes from, please put it in chat, because you're gonna like blow my mind that that a little trivia question, basically. Derek's good. He's good.
Derek keeps saying it's my cow hat. Derek, it's a buffalo. I know in Ireland they're probably all the same, but
no, there are no buffalo in Ireland.
Yeah,
that's a North American thing, I'm pretty sure.
I'm just saying in Ireland they perceive them as all the same. Cow, buffalo, what's the difference, right?
Oh, there's
just like up here in Minnesota, there's probably a lot of people who think crocodile, alligator, what's the difference, right? I mean, they don't get that. There's a big difference.
Yeah. One's saltwater, one's freshwater. One has a much longer snout than the other. Mm-hmm. One has a more powerful snout than the other. There's a big difference. But a buffalo is what, the size of like a Volkswagen.
Yeah,
You know,
buffaloes are
yeah,
pretty big. I mean, I suppose when you look at them
and
across the
hairy.
field from 1,000 yards away, maybe you don't realize what you're looking at, but you get up close to them, there's definitely a difference.
Yeah,
But adult to adult, there's probably a 500 to 800 pound difference. So
right. Well, Europeans.
So what have you been up to? How's Squatch Bait doing?
Good.
You froze up there.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh. And look at the big brain on Brad. Smarch is from the Simpsons, you meant to say. That is correct. See, all it takes is a little Googling. I see, I'm back. Okay, cool. So yeah, man, what's up, dude? Like, so not a whole lot of Bigfoot stuff going on.
There
I don't know.
hasn't been.
Did we find one? Did somebody find one?
I don't think they did.
No, I don't know. Let's check. Turn on the news. Like, did they find one?
Not yet.
Is Rick Dyer involved?
We found one.
No.
We found where he lives.
Dude, I drove through some squatchy areas today. Yes, I was lucky enough. And of course, I mean, you could see through the woods so good right now. And I was just like, yeah, like Kim was driving, and I was just looking out the window going, man, please let me see one. Please let me see one. Just 50, just like 30, 40, 50 yards out there in the woods, man, just like trompsing around, like, oh, like the ideal scenario where you're in your car, you're going 50 miles an hour, and if you look at one, there's zero consequence,
The ideal scenario is you're safely in your car.
Right. But then all I have is the story of, hey, dude, I saw one, Yeah,
like, I was in my car. I saw it for 4 seconds as we drove by.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Tell me about your encounter, Pat. Well, do you have 15 seconds? I'll tell you all about it.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, man. But it was fun. It was fun. I love driving around through the mountains, man. Like every chance I get.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's kind of that time that I like these transition times of year, the late fall and the early spring. I mean, it's hard to even call it spring here up in when I'm in North or Minnesota and South Dakota, both the places, too damn cold to feel like spring, but yet, we're getting rid of the snow and the rivers are opening up, and the lakes are still froze over, but all the flowways are moving.
Yeah.
But
so the lakes are still frozen.
Oh yeah, hell, we're still driving on them up in northern Minnesota. There's 2 feet of ice on them. It takes a while, once that ice starts thawing out and you get some really windy days, then it starts making that ice really porous. It's like almost like an ice cube in your cup when it's real hard and clear versus when it starts getting kind of spongy, like you bite down on it and it just crumbles. That's when it starts getting windy and sunny, where you go, let's say 3 nights in a row where it doesn't get back down to like 25 degrees at night. It stays above freezing, well above freezing. Then you can start making some headway on getting rid of the ice. Right now, I mean, heck, it could reach 45 degrees during the day. And if it drops down to 20, 22 degrees at night, the inch or two of water on top of the ice just froze back up overnight,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
But once you get some couple inches of water on top of the ice and you get some wind blowing on it for 2-3 days in a row, it goes quick.
Well, let me ask you this: when it starts to go, does it do that? Does it do that booming,
Well,
like that
the
artillery
booming
booming?
sound that you hear is usually when it's getting stronger. So you'll hear that all winter long, like especially in the evenings when the temperature drops and you hear boom, and like thunder, and it's a crack that will shoot across a certain distance, a couple hundred yards or whatever. And that's a stress crack that actually is forming
From
so
pressure?
that the ice can like get cold and contract even harder against itself. In
Oh
the
wow!
spring, when it starts to melt, you really don't hear that at all. But what you will get is you start getting it, like, let's just say you had a perfectly round lake, so to speak. And as it starts to melt, it starts melting, getting smaller. That cap of ice on the lake gets smaller. So it's melting around the edges. And
Mm-hmm.
then the wind will blow that to one side of the lake where it's right up tight against the shoreline, let's say.
Yeah.
And as that ice starts really getting thin and you get a windy day where waves are flowing, there's videos of it on YouTube of ice washing into a shoreline, and it's just like a train colliding into something. I mean, the ice hits the shore and heaves up, and more ice is cranking over it, and it just keeps flowing up, and it'll come up and knock down cabins just
Oh
because
wow!
the wind is blowing that heavy ice sheet to one side of the lake, and it just starts breaking as it hits the shoreline.
Sure, because the water's going to
It's
move it.
crazy.
Yeah, the water's going to move it, and the wind can definitely move the water.
Yeah.
Um,
So you'll see that on YouTube videos of ice sheets, crashing on the shoreline. Hopefully, like a lot of lakes, it's just a gradual wind, but and you'll lose your ice in a couple days. But if you start getting like 30-mile-an-hour winds on that day that the ice starts letting go, it can be extremely dangerous. But
yeah. You know what else you see on YouTube videos?
you see everything on YouTube videos.
This guy. This guy right here. This. See me. You see me. You see me. Hey, hey. Um. I don't know if I ever told you my frozen lake story.
No,
And I'm not sure if I've ever told it
you've
on there.
been on a frozen lake before.
Correct. But see,
Really?
so I grew up in Georgia. And so like
Mm-hmm.
the lakes don't freeze here.
Mm-hmm.
You like it would take a really unusual like polar express to make a small pond freeze, and
Yeah.
it would probably freeze to the point where you couldn't even walk on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that's just not something that happens down here. And I grew up here. Well, my one of my best friend in the world, Sean, he moved to New York, and uh, long story short, I decided to go spend an extended vacation with him. Basically, I lived up there for like 9 months in upstate New York on Lake George, near Lake George, right? And I went there in February. That's when I drove up to hang out, right? And and so Lake George was frozen. So he took me to Lake George, and I had been to Lake George in the summer before, so I was like blown away to see it, covered in white.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Hey, let's go walk out on there. You know, let's go walk out onto the lake." And I was like, "Dude, are you crazy? Like people die that way." I was like, "You've never seen those videos of people like walking on ice and they fall into ice, and I mean you're gonna get hypothermia like within 2 minutes." And he's like, "Dude, are you kidding me?" Like and I'm just like putting up a argument. I'm like, "No
Mm-hmm.
way I'm walking out on a frozen lake, dude. That's a good way to die." Right? So I'm ignorant as hell. Like I'm just like scared because that's how people can get hurt, right? He's like, he taps me and he's like, look, dude, look over there. And I look, and there's a car driving down the middle of the lake, or a truck.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay,
We're
like,
good.
let's go, man. So that's my frozen lake story. I had no idea that you could drive a car on a frozen lake. Like,
Yeah.
that's just not in my reality of thinking, you know.
We I fish a lot of ice fishing tournaments in this year I didn't fish as many, but for the last few years I had quite a bit, and I have they're all 2-man tournaments, and so I have a fishing partner that we fish these tournaments throughout Minnesota and Wisconsin. And it used to be like every weekend we were going somewhere else for a tournament. Well, my partner's a friend of mine that we've been friends a long time. This guy's like 6'6" and weighs about 330 pounds. And he doesn't have a whole lot of body fat. I mean, he just looks like a lineman on one of these NFL teams, And people would ask me all the time, hey, how long have you guys been tournament partners? And, how'd you get to fishing with him? I said, well, I needed an ice fishing partner. I wanted somebody who was much heavier than I was, and as long as I walk behind him, I know I'll never fall through the ice. If he's still on top of the ice, I got nothing to worry about. But
hey, you want to hear some interesting audio?
You got some interesting audio?
I do. I've quite
of Squatch bait, or what audio of what?
What? Huh?
A band of one of the underground bands.
This is my new single.
It's a cover song.
No, it's
like a virgin.
It's what we would call Bigfoot audio. I'm not saying it's a Bigfoot.
Okay.
I'm not saying that the person
Love to hear it.
I'm not saying the person who took it says it's a Bigfoot, but I'd like to share it with you and the audience, and I have more to share if if it's interesting enough. This one's a little bit of a head scratcher for me.
You got any background on it as far as where it was, or?
North Carolina. Recorded like on private land, like on somebody's home. Up in the mountains, Appalachian Mountains, vast wilderness, like, so fairly remote area. Even though there are neighbors, one of those things, not like right next to you neighbors, but you know what I'm saying. It's a very remote area, high elevation in the Appalachians.
Was it recorded on a remote device, or was it somebody standing there holding something and recording it while they were hearing it?
I think it's remote. Okay. I think it's one of those things they leave it out all night.
Yeah.
So without further ado, let me pull it up here. Is that gonna wait? Not video file. God, see, I need Tim back. God, I need Tim. Just so hard to do.
Is he still on an island in Fiji somewhere for the winter, or what?
No, he's doing all his big time stuff. He just interviewed Bruce Campbell, of all people. Like, I was like, dude, that's awesome. All right, here we go. Is that up? Can you see that?
Yeah.
So this is also comes with the spectrogram. All right, so let's check it out. Everybody ready? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, that's what I said.
That's interesting. It's one of the things that I find notable about it is we have a really deep guttural sound that's going down each time, like it's being squashed down. You hear that sometimes with bull moose, the way that they'll,
Right.
they start high and go down. Whereas a lot of times in nature, we hear it go up, right? And that's interesting about that.
So if this audio was recorded in North Carolina, like virtual zero chance it's a moose.
No, and the only reason why I'd mention a moose is it's a good example of that sound. People who either have watched, hunting shows or they're hunting moose, you'll hear where they'll do cow calls, real like high up calls. But when these bulls get in and it's like that mating kind of, lumbering back and forth, that they get into these really squashing down guttural sounds. And you'll sometimes hear that too with elk when they grunt down when they're really close to, mating. But you kind of notice that in that sound. It's not a steady sound like across the tonal wave or a rising sound. It just sounds like every one of them, he starts up and goes down. That's interesting because, I've heard other audio of people who claim that they've got audio of Bigfoot, and I've heard that before on other audio clips. But
and to be clear, this person is not making the claim it's Bigfoot. And
they really don't know.
Yeah, yes. So even though, like, let's say there might be a little Bigfoot sauce on it because it's like, hey, I don't know what this is, and I'm bringing it to the Bigfoot world.
Yeah.
There is that aspect of it, but she is not claiming I have audio of a Bigfoot. I can prove Bigfoot is real because I have the audio. Here it is.
Yeah. No,
it's worth it. It's like,
that's fair.
I think this audio is interesting and it's worth more investigation.
One thing that I would say, and I can't prove this to be a fact either, but I don't think it's a bear, because bears will do that squashing down sound too, but typically not that many times in a row. I mean, bears will be a little bit all over with their groans and their grunting, they'll be, but then it's, you hear the rises too. It's not over and over down like it seems to be in that audio clip. So
yeah,
it sounds like something that's frustrated with something, or it keeps repeating that same tonal dive, and it is very deep. I mean, we can eliminate just about anything that's, let's say I would say under 100 pounds, but let's say 50 pounds, because I've heard you hear sounds that lynx and some of these larger felines are making you think, wow, I can't believe something that weighs 30 or 50 pounds can make something that loud. But
yeah, but those are all pretty, those are weird tones. They do the like that.
Yeah. This, what you're hearing here is very guttural and low in tonality, and it progressively goes medium to down over and over and over. It never seems to be rising. And when you hear that same repetitious over and over and over, that's usually because it's coming in sync with something that it's doing activity wise, whether it's with the stride of a walk as it's making it, or maybe it's trying to push something down and making that sound over and over. It doesn't seem to be something that would stand still and make that sound over and over, just because it's the exact same repetitious drop. It sounds more like it's laborsomely doing something over and over, and it keeps repeating that sound.
Ooh, hold on. Good analysis, Jeff, especially hearing it one pass through. But I wouldn't expect anything less. All right, so brain bug, breaking news. I don't have a breaking news thing. I need to make one. Brain bug says I solved your Moorhead recording. Squatch Talk, link me. All right. I'm pretty sure we're friends on Facebook. Or email me. I'm dying to hear this.
Yeah. He's not saying I'm pretty sure I solved it. He's saying he
He said
solved
I solved it.
it.
Oh, there he is.
This is good.
There he is. There he is. Okay, I'm gonna link you. Here we go. And oh yeah, I already got the spoiler, but I'm not gonna say nothing.
You want to hear it in his own words.
Yeah. All right, I just sent you the link, and that's interesting to me. Yeah, I just sent it to you, Brain. So I don't know. So like whatever the example was that was sent to him, Squatchbait found it. So I don't know what's on that example, because the Sierra sounds are like, God, how many minutes?
There's probably like 7 different tonal examples in the Sierra sounds.
Yeah.
I mean,
But here he comes. All right. So breaking news.
And I'm more of a they than a him, but that's okay.
What's up, buddy? Welcome to the show, man.
Hey. I listened to your recording and I recognized the animal, what I think was the animal. There's a few
now, was
it could be.
Was it the one, to be clear, was it the one that we linked for you to go?
Yes, it was the one that Squatchbait. Thank you, Squatchbait.
Okay.
So a really a distinct kind of sound and kind of horrifying, really, when you hear it at night. We don't have them here, which is unfortunate. I think you might have them there a bit, but we don't have them up here in the upper Midwest. They're more of a southern thing, and they're really one of the cool things about them is that they're the only canid species that regularly climbs trees. They are semi-arboreal, and they're called gray foxes. What I hear on that tape sounds like gray foxes playing. I've heard audio of gray foxes playing before. It could be a red fox, but I'm pretty confident it's a gray fox.
Where are you located at?
I'm in Illinois.
Okay.
Yeah.
Over here in South Dakota, northern Minnesota, we have both red and gray foxes here. I don't know how far. I think the further east you go towards you see more red fox and not a lot of gray fox.
Well, then the red foxes here are kind of they've gotten bigger because when we wiped the wolves out that lived in this area of the country, the coyotes got bigger and filled that niche, and then the foxes had to get bigger to fill their niche. It's really prevalent in Great Britain, where they wiped out all the big predators, so the foxes became the big predators, and they're like 3 times bigger in Great Britain than they are anywhere else in Europe. It could be a red fox on this tape or on this recording. It could be, because they make a lot of really distinct range of sounds. That foxes have this special vocal range that they're within. There's sounds there in that recording that we can't even hear, that they hear, that the other foxes can hear. It sounds like they're playing. They may be playing. They could be fighting too. It could be, or there's some different recordings out there. Somebody can go out there and look at the different.
I now want to know what link that was sent to you.
Because you don't think it sounds like a fox, is that why?
No, yeah, I just don't know which part of the Sierra sounds.
3.
Okay.
See, in the Sierra sounds, basically between the samurai chatter that you hear and the and I mean, I would, if I was to break it down, I mean, literally there's like 4 or 5 different, let's just call them language examples being displayed throughout the Sierra sounds recordings. And
I just-
so I don't know what she sent you either. I'd be interested in knowing what.
Okay, I just dropped in the private chat the one that I clicked on to listen to.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's in the private chat there. And
where the hell? Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. So I got to, let's see. I maybe can click on it. It might open up. Yes, it will. All right. So here we go. I'm going to try and share this. Can everybody hear that?
Yeah.
I can hear it. Yeah.
Is it coming through?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'd rather not share it if I don't have to.
Yeah, it's coming through.
Okay. All right. That's okay. And that's a pretty good example of the Sierra sounds. All right. So here we go. I'm going to resume it. So, really?
Okay, so yes, I used to be part of this group on of the forum called Carnivora Forum. It's still around now. It's a different server, I think now, but it's still around. And there was people on there that would just spend hours out in the woods recording different animal sounds. So there were hours of recordings of different fox species playing and mating and making all kinds of different ruckus. I'm trying to look and find anything on YouTube here to see if you here, let me play. This is just one yelping for its offspring, but you can hear the same.
Yeah, sure. If you want to,
see, is this going to be loud enough?
If you want to share it, I could play it.
Yeah. I'm going to share it on.
Yeah, you can share it here with me, and
this is not going to be. This is just just yelping for its.
If you could share it on StreamYard, probably be best.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so all right, I'm gonna add it.
All right, so. Now this one, I believe it may be looking for a mate, but I believe it's trying to vocalize to its babies there. But I can check the description here. But when they're playing and when they're getting rough together, they're a little more vocal.
Yeah, because that's what sounds like's going on in the so-called Sierra sounds. But it's all that. Some of that stuff is really weird, like now, and there's just like a snort in there. Like, so how do you square that circle? I don't know.
I do a lot of hunting for coyotes, and I do a lot of predator hunting, and I'll get foxes that will come into our predator calls too. And I've heard the almost playful kind of a lot of vowel switching in what they do. That kind of sounds like it's almost like it's almost like they're making sounds as they're inhaling and exhaling. You know what I mean? Because it shifts. Yeah. The one thing I've never really heard in a coyote sound or a fox sound that I hear in the Sierra sounds is the sound that starts with the W, the whoa. Almost everything starts with a or a scratchy, and then it'll get clear and kind of tonally bounce around. But you notice in the Sierra sounds, it almost definitely sounds like the clip that you played there is two individuals. One of them's getting really chattery and doing that,
Yeah.
and one of them's responding over and over because it overlaps. It's like interrupting it by going what, what, what. I've never heard a coyote make any type of a dog make that. It's not like a woofing sound. It's like a what, over and over. I can't catch. I've heard different fox clips on YouTube trying to figure out what sounds they make.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one that I can't find one mimicking. I can hear them make those really shifting vowel-y sounds as they're kind of playfully sounds, chattery sounds. But that one that seems to be responding with that same sound over and over. What? I can't find a fox sound to make that sound. So I don't want to portray as if I'm some definitive answer, Brain, but I'm not saying what you're claiming is not true because I don't have any proof that it's not true. You could be right on. But that's just been my experiences. I've heard foxes be able to mimic sounds that you might be identifying in the Sierra sounds, but not that low, what.
That's why I went with gray fox on that, because the red foxes are more chittery. They almost sound like chimpanzees chattering, whereas gray foxes have a little bit of a lower, more baritone vocalizations. They can go into that higher range too, but you heard it in that one that I just shared. That was just a single one making calls. I still can't find a good chattery gray fox, but they go up and down from that baritone to the high pitch that you're used to hearing with a red fox. That chattery sound.
It's funny that you mentioned chimpanzees, is because about 70% of the Sierra sounds, if you just isolated bits and pieces, about 70% of them, I'd say a chimpanzee could make that sound. And then there's sounds above and below that range where you're like, whoa, wait a minute. Never mind. Maybe I'm wrong with that. Because
that's why I was thinking canid, because the range that it's going into is more of a canid vocal range where they would be listening for that. Because you hear when a wolf howls, you hear that higher end of that. That's what resonates further distances for them to communicate. And we can't really hear how high that goes, but it goes really high. And
I've talked to a lot of biologists who have experience with canine sounds, and I try to, once I learn something from them, I try to start listening for it too, to see if I can hear something that contradicts that when I'm out hunting and or even if I'm just archery hunting deer and I hear coyotes.
What do you hunt for usually?
Mostly, either I'm archery hunting for deer or I am predator hunting. We'll just go out nighttime predator hunting for coyotes, wolves, bobcats, whatever. But the one thing that you won't I've never heard one be able to do it. And that's why I kind of believe these biologists are onto something. And that's vowel changing for canines. They can go, I'm trying to remember which direction it is. It is, they can vowel change from A to O, but they can't go from O to A, meaning you'll hear "ow" like that on a call, but you'll never hear it go "ooh ah" and open up to the A sound. They physically can't. They can start with an A and drop into the O, but they can't be in that O sound and drop up to the A. And a lot of people will mistake that because they'll hear a coyote wailing and they'll think it's dropping, but really it's the intensity that's dropping. You'll hear it just as it loses its breath and it holds that same note as it comes down. If you're really paying attention, you'll never hear that ooh to ah vowel change. Now, if you were to take that principle into the Sierra sounds, I would eliminate the Sierra sounds from being at all canine. because
You-
you hear it
Well, you-
doing
right.
what they say it can't do many times throughout the Sierra Sounds.
Well, okay, but is that for? Are you talking about canids, or are we talking? Because foxes are different.
Typically, I wouldn't want to represent what I just said to foxes because I don't know if they
Yeah.
were speaking to us. I know what they were talking about was wolves and coyotes.
And
wolves
coyotes,
and
yeah. They can't ooh ah, yeah, they can't go ooh ah, they can't.
Yeah,
do
they can sound out this oh like
So,
that,
like-
but they can't go the other direction.
Correct.
So, like organisms within the genus, the wolf genus, the dog genus.
Yeah, I would
we
say
apply that too. So
Yeah,
it would be like
because a
dingoes
good
would
example
apply
of
there.
why there could be error there is you'll hear people make claims to mountain lion calls that are distinctive mountain lion calls and identifying them and what they can do and what they can't do with their vocal ranges, and those won't apply to a bobcat just simply because it's smaller and it actually has a higher and lower range. If a bobcat or especially a lynx, the amount of sounds that it's capable of making will blow you away versus a mountain lion can't cover that same range. They're a little more narrowed down, a little louder, but a little narrowed down. They can't get as high.
Yeah.
And so that's why I say, that ooh to ah impossibility that exists with wolves and coyotes. I don't know that would exist in foxes too. I can't say that, but
Yeah, I mean, just we designate that to Canis for sure, and then the jury's still out on all Canidae or even Canine, but we've done the research when it comes to wolves I'm taking that at face value, the wolves and coyotes, what you're telling me about. It sounds interesting and it does match with what I think of when I think of both of those animals howling or vocalizing in general. Coyotes tend to vocalize a little bit more than wolves do, and it's a little bit more of a variety of different sounds that they make. I mean, wolves do too. Look at and huskies are they still retain some of that. If you ever look at like a talking husky, they do the low vocalizations to one another, and it's always, like you said, the higher to the ah to the ooh. Definitely, that's my experience. With foxes, though, they have some weird sounds. I don't know.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
But what we're hearing in the Sierra Sounds is just so, I don't know. It's so, I mean, people have been able to impersonate it. People have.
Yeah.
I've seen that. And it's
so
impressive.
They intro to a corn song.
But yeah, almost. But I mean, if I could just play a little bit more of it, just for reference,
play it again.
I'll just keep playing from where I stopped.
Yeah.
It's Brian Head Welsh is what you're hearing out in the woods there.
Yeah, what the hell is that? I mean,
that right there sounds very much like a fox to me. That thing. I mean, that's not very good. My impression was terrible, but
so
I've
got software, wildlife acoustic software,
sweet
that I've spent. I mean, it's not cheap, but at the urging of a couple other friends I researched with, they were like, "Dude, let's get this." And so I have ran the Sierra Sounds through it from beginning to end. And I've tried running just clips of it through it, seeing, well, if that this one consistent sound, just run that 5-second clip through it, see if it'll flag something. But when you run it from beginning to end through this, it keeps coming up as unknown. And this is weird because the wildlife acoustic software has every known mammal's sound range on it. I mean, this is a library that's stupid, is how big it is. In fact, I once thought that I had a recording of coyotes going from the ooh to ah sound. And I knew that there was more than one coyote out there howling, but I had a clip of it. And when I played it through there, I was really paying attention to that ooh to ah shift that I saw. And it lays it out in a spectrograph, and it identifies a different spectrograph wave every time it identifies a different animal, meaning you'll hear two coyotes howling and it's showing two wavelengths, and then a third one will kick in, and then the one of them will drop out and go flat while a fourth one kicks in. So it's identifying the number of origins of the sounds as it's coming through. And what I thought was an ooh to ah was where one coyote was ending, another one was just starting with a full breath, and so it sounded like it shifted, but it was actually a second animal. But when I ran the Sierra sounds through this over and over, and I know other people have ran it through other acoustic software, it just, when you take in the totality of all the different sounds, it just, in the end, it comes to unknown. They cannot get a variance or a threshold that identifies it. And look, the Sierra sounds could be that perfect storm of three different species, in one recording that is in combination makes you feel like, boy, that sound is so much different than this sound. Maybe it's not the same origin, the same species origin, but I'm trying to play devil's advocate there when I say it, because I do in the end believe that the Sierra sounds are authentic. But if I was to really work to prove that they aren't, I'd have to start with, you have more than one species on that recording. That's really where I would start with.
I'm like super interested in that software you brought up though, because I like do recordings of insect sounds outside, and if it has like mole crickets and stuff in there, I'd love to be able to do that. What do you know the name of the software?
So yeah, it's wildlife. If you search wildlife acoustics, they'll have a software program that you can put in and purchase, and then they also have different recording devices that you leave out, and some of them are made to pick up avian sounds, and some of them are made to pick up mammal sounds. I mean, they're actually made, the microphone systems, to pick up those different tonalities, so to speak. The nuances of avian sounds can be very subtle, so that I suppose that those microphones are really quite dynamically different than the ones that they use for mammals. But you can take any audio clip that you find online too and run it through it. But
that's pretty cool. I'd like to know what kind of bugs are singing in my backyard. So that'd be something we could probably do on my channel for fun.
Well, it'd be one of those things I wish everybody could just go and get it. I mean, I only did it because me and a few of my friends all kind of chipped in and did it, because it's about $1,800 to get it all installed on your computer. I mean, it's not like the cost of a great drone or anything, but it's not, most people aren't just going to go blow $1,800 and put it on there. But I think there's enough people out there who have it now that are, and I should note that just having it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to use it correctly. I mean, you can run any sound you want through to it, and it does a pretty good job of identifying and matching known species. But, if I knew a species, if I had a sound that I didn't know what it was, like let's just say this, at this instance here, you're hearing the Sierra sound saying, I think it's a gray fox, right? And I ran the Sierra sound through, and it doesn't say gray fox. I would start finding every gray fox sound that I could find and run it through there and see if I can get a gray fox sound to not identify as gray fox too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I will keep
now once you've tripped it up that way, you realize that there's room for error here.
Right. Yeah. But I'll keep looking for, if I find there was a great audio recording of two gray foxes fighting that I just can't seem to find now. But if I find it for you, I'll definitely send it to Pat. And
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I mean,
we can explore that.
I'm interested. Yeah, it's just that, like, some of this, like some of the snorts, like these weird snorts and the just like it's like it's
and that one
like,
sound there that we were listening to, Pat, you can tell it's opening its mouth really wide too, because if you try to not open your mouth and just go, it's when you open your mouth up when you do it and you get that really, like reverberated sound, you can hear that in that.
Yeah, it almost sounded like it had a bad hangover. Like,
yeah.
Like, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I mean, it's interesting sounds. At the end of the day, it's only audio,
Right.
and people have been able to replicate those sounds very well. Now, that's a special talent, I'll say. But still,
there's people that can do all kinds of wildlife sounds. People that can bugle like an elk, and the bird calls, like he was just talking about, that you could do all of them.
Well, and Doug Hychek has one of these Inuit people that are going to be on LMS too, where they're dropping a small camera down this guy's throat to video what his vocal cords are doing, because he can create infrasound.
Ooh.
It sounds like he's doing one of those old Inuit kind of chants, around the, like from thousands of years ago around the fire sort of thing. But this guy can create infrasound, and he's the only human being that I think they've figured out that could do this. But when it just makes you realize that it's a testimony to that there is no exact facts and boundaries that we can operate within when we're trying to research something, that not a lot of resolute and concrete thresholds are out there to compare to. You could say, well, humans can't make that sound. Well, here's one that can. So when somebody says, well, gray foxes don't make that sound, well, who's to say a couple of them can't? You know what I mean? So now you start realizing that some of this stuff isn't as exact as we'd like to just assume that it is, so to speak.
And that circles right back to what Pat was saying. It's only audio. That's all we'll ever have, unless you were, sitting there at the coordinate and looking at the animal. You have to, kind of take the person who recorded his word for it.
I love listening to audio, though, almost more than looking at video, to be honest with you. Video, I mean, we've just gotten to the point to where if it's either going to show something that you believe could be a Sasquatch, or it's going to be too blurry to tell or too inconclusive to tell. Audio, if it's not Sasquatch, you got to ask yourself, what is it then? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I find audio more intriguing almost.
I'd rather listen to vocalizations all day than listen to people with wood knocks, because I don't find wood knocks. You're never going to be conclusive about what that is knocking back to you. It'll never be conclusive until you witness whatever's out there knocking.
Until you go looking for it. Yeah. Right. I hear you. And I've had my own wood knock experiences, and it was a powerful thing, but still, you're right. Until you go charging out there with the light, and
that's probably a good comparison for that is when Blaine's audio recordings from Angleworm Lake that I have, is you hear wood knocks on there. You hear them way off in the distance, and then you hear them close. But then you start hearing the lip popping. And then you hear these large bowling ball sized rocks being thrown at the tent. Now, granted, you could have a number of human beings orchestrated to create a scenario like that. And who would know it to be true or not? So at that point, you start putting your faith into who it is that came forward with the recording. But when I hear wood knocks on their own, I'm kind of like you. I believe wood knocks are real, that it's a real form of communication that Sasquatch does use to, signal each other or whatever. But when I hear a recording of one, it doesn't carry a lot of weight with me until I start hearing other things in that recording that it all kind of becomes collaborative evidence, so to speak.
Yeah,
And
cumulative. Right.
yeah, that's one of the things that I find intriguing about Blaine's recording is it wasn't just wood knocks, or it wasn't just a rock being thrown. It was like all this combination of things happening that really makes it strange if but I agree. I mean, and I've always said that, if the three of us went out at 2 a.m. and we're out there recording and we knock on a tree and something knocks back, it's intriguing. Mm-hmm. It's a great story to tell. We're going to tell a lot of people about it. It didn't do much to advance the science, so to speak, versus if you caught audio evidence of a vocalization that you believe to be real, you have done something to advance the science, because science is going to have to prove that it's a different animal or it could be Sasquatch. And if it is, you now have another comparative example to use in that library when people say, what do they sound like? But a wood knock, look, we could knock on 10,000 trees with 10,000 sticks. They don't sound a whole lot different from each other. What are we really advancing here with a wood knock?
One animal that I always was suspicious about when it comes to wood knock is ravens and crows. They do tend to do things like that, mimicry of human behavior and sounds that we make. I've always been suspicious that maybe there's a fat raven sitting out in there just responding with whatever knocks that it can do, or dropping stones and things on the trail, things like that. Ravens are, yeah.
It's just a lot of these wood knocks happen at night.
Yeah,
that's always the problem. I mean, with the first thing would be, well, woodpecker, right? Woodpecker doing a little test knock on a tree could be pretty loud. Testing for the weak spots or whatever it wants, it's pretty loud. But in the middle of the night, that's just not a factor because they don't operate at night. They can't navigate the trees at night,
The one thing that I find in the middle of the night, it doesn't matter how hot it is or how cold it is, it's always cooling off usually at night, even if it's just a couple of degrees. And that's not to say it gets cold. It might only cool off from 105 daytime to 90 at night, let's say. But one thing that I notice here in my house, I have tongue and groove, what they call car siding. It's knotty pine, 3/4 inch thick boards that have a tongue and groove on it. That all my ceiling is this, okay? And it's a vaulted ceiling. As that stuff dries out in the winter, and as it gets humid and it gets moisture content back into it in the summer, I'll be laying on my couch in the late fall and winter, quiet as just stone silence inside, and all of a sudden, pop! I mean, one of those things, as they're drying out, just a crack or the way they seat will about make you jump off the couch. It's like somebody clapping their hands real loud. And it makes you realize what a dead tree or what wood can do as it's drying out with temperature changes. There can be pops like that. Now, is it normal to think that you're going to crack a tree and hear one back, and then 2 minutes later you crack on tree twice and you hear two of them back? At that point, I would say that's not what you're hearing.
Yeah, once it starts responding, definitely, yeah.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
But these solo, I heard a wood knock. Well, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of natural explanations of what could make an isolated sound like that. That really aren't that far-fetched. When you start getting multiple sounds and responses, that's a whole different ballgame. But, I agree. I mean, whether it's a raven, whether it's a bear, leaning up, scratching its back, and it knocks the damn birch tree over. I mean, you might never hear the bear walk away. All you heard was, I heard a tree fall over, But
Yeah. One of the things I have on my back burner to do a segment on for my Crypto Corner show is real ends. People have these videos of trees just moving through the forest, like they're far away, but just tree branches, like the branches of a tree moving through the forest, like something's carrying it or something, or they're just walking.
Yeah.
And there's quite a few videos of them. They remind me of your the porcupine video that you made fun of, where the tree was swaying and people were
Thinker Thunker's tree feller
or the feller buncher.
The feller buncher.
Yeah.
That's what it reminds me of. But I just found like a ton of these videos, and what I'm guessing is happening is that there's some kind of tree removal going on with machinery.
Exactly. That's that is the feller buncher explanation, because those things can literally grab trees, cut them. I'm talking 80-foot tall pine tree.
Yeah.
Pick it up and move it to wherever. Like, it could drive it from, New York to Chicago.
Yeah.
And
if you got a drone straight over it or 20-degree angle over it, you're going to see machinery. You're going to tell what it is. When you start getting a drone 1,000 feet away, filming it at an extreme angle, so all you're seeing is the tops of what's going on, it's going to look pretty confusing as to what you're seeing there. I mean,
yeah.
See, that's the funny thing about it, is that you say ants, so it's like this. It's like this group of people that are so hardcore into the Lord of the Rings, they want to believe that trees can just start walking around. March of the Ants, right?
Right.
And in the Sasquatch world, people want to believe so bad that a Sasquatch could pick up a 10,000 pound, 80-foot tall pine tree and just start carrying it through the woods. Both are equally absurd when we have these machines called feller bunchers that can do exactly that. It's like,
somewhere in chat right now, somebody's like, "You talking shit about Lord of the Rings? I'm unliking this freaking channel."
I'm a Lord of the Rings nerd, but
I love Lord of the Rings, but it doesn't mean
you knew enough about it. I kind of figured,
it doesn't mean that orcs are real, man. Like, I mean, or Gollum's not a real thing, dude. Like,
I'm not hearing this. Don't say it.
Yes, it was CGI and an actor. I can't remember his name.
Andy Serkis.
Yes, Andy. Mm-hmm.
Well, hey guys, it's been fun hanging out. Thanks for letting me come in and make my case for the gray fox on that. Think it over. I'm pretty confident about it, but I get that you all are. It's been around for a long time. I get that you're not convinced by my ID.
Well, no, I appreciate your input. I'm going to look into it more. So whatever you get, send it to me, Brian.
Yeah. All right. Y'all have a good one.
All right. Thanks, man. Thanks for coming on. Well, cool. Yeah, that was interesting. I mean, my whole thing with the Sierra Sounds again is that, number one, it was recorded in the 70s, so there's no modern tech involved. Thank God that we can know that for certain. And number two, it's like, I don't know. At the end of the day, it's just audio. That's it. Mm-hmm. And how convincing and crazy Sierra sound. It's not. It can't be. You can't file it in a court of law. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it is what it is.
There are some things though that go beyond just what you're hearing. That helps me add a little bit in my mind of why I would give it the validity that I do. And it's not a whole lot different than why I give the audio recordings that I got from Blaine that validity. It's the source of who he was and what he's risking if he's faking something.
Right.
I mean, he's the son of Doug Hychik. I mean, there's a lot on the line there. You're not going to fake that. And he had his girlfriend with him. She was pretty damn nervous about it. She'd never been in the woods around something like this before. He was returning to an area that he had captured audio the year prior. And so there's some things when it comes to the source that I look at and say, gosh, this ain't your average dude. It just doesn't make sense when you state the case of the risk versus reward of putting something like that out there if it's not legit, right?
Sure.
Now I look at these guys that captured the Sierra Sounds. You've got, a few of them were attorneys, and they were going to this family where their family had gone there and hunted this area for decades throughout, a couple generations. They didn't really want people to know where it was. They didn't want to tell people where we go here. And when you look at what they did by trade, you think, boy, listen, I kind of can relate to that as a real estate broker. My reputation is a lot. I mean, if people don't think I'm being honest about something, how can they expect me to be honest with them selling the most expensive thing they own, their damn house, right? Yeah. There's too much to risk there for me to not be honest. And I look at these guys as a couple of them were attorneys, and I start thinking, would they have really risked what they do, their livelihoods, of putting something out there that wasn't legit if the risk versus reward didn't add up for them? I mean, they're actually in a profession that gauges risk versus reward every day with every case that they go in front of a judge with. And I just can't believe that they would say, yeah, let's fuck our careers. Fuck where our family's been coming for decades. Let's just record this and put it out there and make it up and make a lie. It doesn't seem like the risk versus reward would make any sense to those guys. It just doesn't seem plausible, Mm-hmm. But
yeah, I mean, I've never been one to go, oh, that's BS, like the Sierra Sounds. I've never had that moment with the Sierra Sounds. It's it's fascinating. It continues to be fascinating, and there's just so many angles here. But at the end of the day, the biggest angle for me is that the Sierra Sounds have been out there for 50 years now, almost, and it's done almost nothing to move the ball down the field. I guess it's a good fallback. So if somebody in North Georgia gets similar sounds recorded on audio, well, then you can fall back to the Sierra Sound. Like, so for that, it's still useful. Other than that, man, there's just like, it's never going to prove Bigfoot. You know what I mean? I mean, my God, dude, the PG film, it's like, come on.
And then there's another thing that I employ in this, and I think you do too, because you've got the same experience as somebody who's been in a modern day recording studio. Yeah. As a musician, knowing that especially with vocal tracks and different microphones, a TK Rhodes mic from that era in the 70s versus a modern day Shure mic these days, just the way they operate are completely different. Now, let alone post-production capability. For instance, you look at Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers going into a studio in 1975 and laying down a track. What they laid is what they got. I mean, you could add some reverb to it. You could add some post effects, but you really couldn't recreate what the original data his voice was putting into there. And you look at it now, I mean, I can make me sound like you, or you sound like him, or anything. I mean, you can do anything today. You couldn't do that back then. And so you look at what they captured and how that could have been manipulated post-production. There really wasn't a lot of opportunity to do much with that other than add reverb, make it a little more lush, make it a little sharper, make it sound like it's in a hall versus in a closed closet. But the original data, those tonalities, you couldn't change those. Now you could auto tune anything to make it sound like anything you want, but you couldn't back then.
No, yeah. Again, no digital manipulation whatsoever. So it would have had to been like live take, right? But what I hear between the microphone and what the microphone's picking up, you could tell there's air. Like you could just tell that
there's dither.
distance.
When you hear those guys talking,
so it's
to
not
each other.
It's not an actor like no, it's not that shit.
There's ambiance. There's space out there where it's being recorded.
You can hear
those guys talking inside there, and the way they were whispering to each other and talking to each other. And then you hear what they're recording. You can tell what they're recording is 30 feet away. It's not right there. And so now you start really getting into the whole, we've talked about this before, that dither sound that you hear in recordings. You hear it in Blaine's recordings where it's just kind of that sound, it's that ambient outside air, even on a still night.
Yep.
And a microphone has sound to it. It's just that light ambient hiss that's almost just there, So you can tell it's not in a recording studio where those tracks were laid down, so to speak.
Yeah, that's the one thing that drives me nuts the most about anybody that wants to criticize it. Oh, it was recorded in the studio. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. You've never set foot in the studio. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. The only thing that could come close to that being true is if you recorded the original sounds in a studio, took them outside 50 feet away and started playing them out there while you were recording them here. But now here's what you have.
Backyard. Yeah.
All the sound would be coming from one direction. And in this, you can hear the different complexities of projection. And, like, for instance, when I was saying it sounds like one's making sounds and the other one like interrupts it periodically with that what? That was coming in at a whole different projection level than the original one is. So if we're going to put them all on one tape and put them on one speaker 50 feet away and crank it up, are you going to be able to tell that? Probably not.
And the only way to do that back in the early 70s would literally be to do it in your backyard.
Yeah.
Where you had
a controlled space.
Well, you'd have to have an extension cord because you have to have electricity to... Yeah. There were no Bluetooths back. There were no rechargeable internal Bluetooth batteries. You couldn't. There's no way you could ever do that without plugging it in. So it was all analog shit back then. Everything, 100%. And to record it in the studio to begin with. Hey man, this is early 70s. Studios were it wasn't like today. Like there weren't just studios everywhere. And if you went to an actual recording studio, you were paying, like, I don't care who you were, right off the street or Led Zeppelin or the record company, Geffen Records, whatever it was, dude, you're paying a lot of money for what you could go in there and fart into a microphone. They're going to charge you $2,000, you know, like.
And then on top of it, now you've got also the fact that they started reporting what they were seeing with the lights and stuff that moved through that area, right? Wasn't that on didn't Pilatus cover that part of their story as far as what they saw?
I don't remember that.
A light beam moving along the line or something. That seems to me that I remembered something like that.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I definitely have problems where Moorhead has gone since then, and his, whatever, he participated in the Pilatus saying Pilatus is full of shit. Like, so it, like, none of that was good.
Well, Pilatus was out to, so to speak, Hollywoodize anything that he was going to cover as far as an account. And I think Moorhead easily played into that, kind of just walked right into that scenario pretty easily.
Yeah, because the thing with Ron is, like, I get it. I mean, he'll talk to anybody. Like I said, I could probably get him on my show.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure I could. Other than whatever was maybe talked about tonight, maybe he would like be a little like, I don't know. It's like, Ron has never been afraid to do media, big or small, and he tells the whole story, the whole situation about that camp. Which there's pictures of that camp. That was a camp. They did have to tear down the shelter, so they had built a shelter, put a wood stove in it, and a wildlife official came along and said, that's not the right kind of shelter for a wood stove. You got to tear it down, and they did. I mean, so some of that stuff's documented as actually being a place.
Pilatus documented that too in Missing 411, and basically they had taken sheared off of downed timber, sheared like bark structures, and even like slabs of dead fallen, and they paneled. Basically, if you can imagine a half of a tree, a giant tree, okay, half of a giant tree, like a 6 foot round tree, that half of it had rotted open. But then they continued it with these plank structures going around and kind of made a makeshift door and whatnot.
Yeah.
To re-encircle it, and they kind of created this makeshift cabin out of it. And long after they, I think they had actually, it was after the Sierra Sounds, they'd stopped going back there. And then they said, well, let's go back. And they went back one last time, and the Forest Service made them remove all that because they weren't permitted to even have any type of a structure there.
Right.
And so they had to tear it down. And I think when Pilatus came along and was filming 411, they went back there, and it had been taken down for quite some time at that point.
It had already been down for a long time.
Yeah.
And that was also documented. Moorhead had already said back in the day, like when they had taken it down. And so, I mean, it was what it was. And I'd
offer out there that, if you had a great grandpa that when you were a kid told you stories about, Iwo Jima or whatever, and now you've got kids of your own and you bring them over there and he's telling them stories decades later about the same stuff that he told you when you were a kid, is he telling it the same? Or after a lifetime of telling it and his aging, the aging effects of his brain and his body and the way he thinks, has it changed?
Yeah.
And I would say that in most people, when they start getting older, when they're talking about stories they've told over and over in their life, that at some point it starts taking on a different look, the way they recall it, the way they amplify or embellish certain things. And you kind of wonder if maybe, and I'm not saying this is the case, I'm just saying, for somebody like Moorhead, he spent the last half of his life talking about this, right?
True. That's true.
I mean, everywhere. He can't go anywhere without somebody asking about it. Does he tell it the same way today as he did the week after it happened? Maybe, maybe not. Whether that's on purpose, maybe, maybe not. I don't know,
We've got a solid, 20 plus years, maybe more than 20 years of documentation of telling that story, because I mean that it goes back to the coast to coast days.
Mm-hmm. I'll give you an example though. The reason why I bring up the lights is on Missing 411. Pilatus covers it as being what they saw out there was like, it looked like a 4 foot long T40 fluorescent bulb that was about 3 feet off the ground, floating, just like my arm, floating about 3 feet off the ground through the forest. They watched it float past. Okay. And this is in the location that they record the Sierra sounds. Now, that brings me a couple different viewpoints on this. One, you've already got audio that's scrambling everybody's fucking brains, right? I mean, this is incredible audio that people are trying to figure out what the hell happened when you captured this. That if you're making it up, you don't need to add the part with the lights. You've got the effect you're looking for if you're faking it, okay? The lights, was that in the early accounts 28 years ago or whatever when he was telling the story? Because when I see Missing 411 and see plots covering that part of it, I'm like, I don't know if I really recall that as being part of what they said. They talk very adamantly about what they heard, the actions, how it moved from one side of the creek to the other, things like that. But I'm curious, is that a count of those lights that they're saying they saw, or Moorhead and through Pilatus is saying that he saw, was that portrayed by anybody else 40 years ago? You know what I mean?
Not that I ever heard, or even 20 years ago. Again, Ron Moorhead has been on Coast to Coast many times with Art Bell, with Nori, with different people, and talked about this. And I don't recall those rod lights ever being brought up.
Yeah,
I could be wrong, but it's just not something that
it makes you. If you're not, you go back and watch the Missing 411. Just what you only got to watch that 10-minute section of it, and you don't need to watch the whole damn thing. But they really go into detail about talking about those lights and how they floated by and what speed and what color and all that. And I'm just thinking, I remember the first time I watched Missing 411 here, what was it, 2 years ago? I was like, I don't know that I've ever heard that part of this before.
I don't think so.
But
yeah, I don't know. It's interesting stuff. The audio side has gotten more interesting to me. I used to really poo-poo on it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, it's easy to fake, and it is, by the way.
Yeah,
it's very easy to fake audio. So that right there just kind of makes me go, like, my initial is like, but also, it's easy to misinterpret, and at the end of the day, it doesn't have the power of the PG film.
No, I agree. That visual stimulation of
the visual analytics. You can actually visually analyze what you're seeing on the PG film. And hell, that hasn't moved, persuaded science or whatever.
I think that when it comes to pictures and videos today, when somebody says, hey, I'm going to play you a video, or I want to show you a picture, that the community's knee-jerk reaction is to default be it's bullshit unless there's something really significant here that stands out to me. I've got to come into this thinking it's bullshit. It seems like that's kind of the default mode we analyze everything as, and we look for something to convince us, to pull us to the other side of that judgment. By default, I'm pretty sure this is going to be bullshit, but let me see it. When I hear an audio recording, I really feel like I'm starting neutral. Like I'm really in the middle here. You've got to pull me to the bullshit side or the, hey, this might be authentic side. But I don't start slanting one way or the other. When I hear audio, it's just like you're closing your eyes and your brain is really putting yourself right there trying to figure this out. Seems like we approach it with a different starting point and we approach it with a different sense rather than looking at something saying, this looks like bullshit. Let me see if there's something I can figure out that maybe it isn't. And I used to feel the same way about audio as you did, Patrick. You know what changed me? It was Blaine's audio. Really. I mean, the first time I heard that a year ago, just knowing who Blaine is, I know the guy. I know him. I would, if I had $1 million to my name and I was going to be homeless on the street if I lost it, I'd bet it all on it that it's authentic. That's how confident I am in this person and what he brought forth. And first of all, he certainly didn't do it for profit. He's barely given it to anybody besides his dad and me and a few others. I think Doug played it on a couple different times, but for the most part, he hasn't gone out seeking notoriety by playing those audio recordings. It's just knowing who he was and what he would be facing, the fire and the thunder that would come down on him if this was fake and somebody proved it was fake. It's like there's no way he would have put this on the line and put his reputation in jeopardy. So now that I've heard that from him, it makes me want to go back and re-listen to every damn audio I've ever heard, because it's like, okay, I really want to look at this all over again in a lot of these cases and try to really approach it neutrally and say, what am I hearing here?
Sure. And I was, so I was put in that position yesterday on to do a show, co-host the show, and I was put in that position purposefully to get a cold reaction to the audio, and I just did the best I could. It was like, well, that kind of sounded canine, or maybe, or avian or whatever, and but that was weird. That sounded Jurassic Park. Like, I'm not sure why that's happening, because it was a weird position to be in, and but I did the best I could, and that episode's going to air. It's not on my channel; it's on the Cart Universe channel. But and it was interesting stuff. And so now I have a bunch of audio. Like, I played that one thing for you. I've got like 12 more of them. It's like, and talking with the property owner, like, and she's willing to be transparent. She's very open. Like, so all that stuff mattered to me. And so, okay, I'm interested. You piqued my interest. There might be something here. There might be. And it's maybe audio that brought me to the table on this. So, I have a new appreciation for it.
Well, granted, it's, if we're being honest about it, in this day and age, audio would actually be easier to fake than video. But with that said, there's, depending on the source you get it from and the story behind it, everything's got to have a story behind it. It's got to make sense. And I'll tell you what, whether it's audio or video, there's a lot of people who look at it and say, well, that's not real, without really having definitive proof that it's not real. That be your opinion, but if we're actually trying to prove that something's not real as hard as we are trying to prove that it is real, a lot of this stuff you couldn't prove either way. I don't care how much you think a video's bullshit. A lot of them you couldn't prove are not real to the same degree you're trying to prove that it's real, So, when you start looking at stuff from a balanced point of view, it's like, there are videos out there I think are complete horseshit. There are pictures out there I think are complete horseshit. And there's audio recordings out there I think are complete horseshit. Or they're natural explanations that seem obvious. But then there's stuff that falls through the cracks in that gray area that you're like, from a research point of view, if I'm being fair, like I try to be with all of my research when I analyze data, I have to look at it with the same tenacity to prove that it's not true as I do as I try to prove that it is true. And if you're going to approach it that balanced, well, in the end, there's a lot of the stuff you can't give a thumbs up or a thumbs down to be really.
Mhm.
But
Well, I've gotten to the point, dude, that there's some roads I'm willing to go down because I think in the end, it's worth going down those roads to discover one way or the other. Because here's what's going to happen if I get involved. In my mind, in my mind, I'm gonna discover. Like that's gonna happen.
Well, you're gonna have an opinion for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think if I get involved enough, Jeff, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I get involved enough in this thing, that thing, or that thing, those branches, they will lead to some kind of discovery where I'm like, man, this is freaking happening. This is a thing. Or there's a hoax. There's a hoax component,
Yeah.
And that can happen to the best of anybody.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like it's better just to go if it's interesting enough to dive into, then dive into it. And those one of those two things will be revealed.
Yeah.
If
you're approaching it fairly but firmly, I mean, not going to be afraid to ask tough questions about it, but you're going to approach it in what you would consider to be a neutral, fair manner and trying to arrive to which side does this fall on. In the end, whether you can prove it or not, you're going to end up having a strong opinion. But in most cases, you probably get to where you have, enough proof leaning one way or that, whether it's definitive proof, but you're going to have proof that suggests it's likely one or the other. It's either a hoax or it's real or it's nature in some way.
Yeah. And hopefully
there's only 3 ways to go there.
Yeah. Hopefully I can, document that and report back with documentation the best I can. But that's starting to happen. Those windows are starting to open. It's not something I ever thought really was gonna happen. But hey, you know how it is, Jeff. I mean, the more I swim these waters, man, the more of those things kind of pop into your existence, the possibilities and what can be done, and it's kind of crazy, man, to be honest with you.
You got to have a real want to get to the answer, and you got to have a want to get there from an unbiased position. I mean, I'm just as anxious to prove that something is not real as much as it is I am trying to prove that it's real. Now, like I say, 30 some years ago, I had an experience which I feel like I'm trying to work the algebra equation from knowing the answer to what's the question, because before I really got into any of this, I had an experience that led me to realize that it's real. But that doesn't stop me from knowing the process everybody else will put something through. So when I analyze or vet something, or I look at research, I have to approach it from that. I have to be prepared that based on the evidence I'm holding here, I can't definitively prove something's real or not real. Or I could actually prove something's not real from it. This footprint is not real because of this. I'd love for it to be real, but I have evidence to show that this is not real, and here's why. It doesn't matter if you believe in Bigfoot or not. We approach each piece of evidence as a thumbs up or thumbs down. In the end, to say, I'm not sure, I could go either way, we've got to be able to get to where we can go one way or the other on a lot of this stuff. It's either a hoax or it's nature, a natural occurrence that's being misperceived, or it's caused by Sasquatch. It's one of those three every time. You know?
Yeah. You have to swim these waters cautiously and objectively. You just have to.
And you have to do
that's
it
the way it should be done. There's just too many people that don't do that. There's too many people that don't have that mindset, that consume it all. So obviously, it becomes a 3-ring circus in the Bigfoot world where you again, all you have to do is smother it in Bigfoot sauce, and the people will consume it. And that's not what I'm about. That's not what you're about. I know that about you. So there's just always a bit of caution moving forward. It's kind of my point. Sorry.
Yeah. Nobody's afraid to swim in deep water until they can't see the shore anymore. Exactly. And when you start existing in a community that is smothering Bigfoot sauce on shit, you don't know if you can see the shore. It starts to look like, I think that's not real, but boy, you got thousands of people saying it is, or I think this is real, and here's 1,000 people saying it isn't, all because of the sauce,
Yeah.
But
no, I have to pick my branches and avenues very carefully. It takes time. It takes some vetting, So that's why I say it's a hurry up and wait, which I think you would agree with, Jeff. It's kind of a hurry up and wait process,
Yeah. Well, it's it's one thing that I've noticed is that probably as of late, as the last few months, is that it's easy to get discouraged especially in this community. I mean, it's there's a lot of things that, like I say, a lot of things happened this past week in the community, and not a whole lot of them have anything to do with Bigfoot. I mean, it's like there's a lot of distractions that can get frustrating.
Right.
Everybody has their own opinion, which they're entitled to, but won't always make you feel good. Sometimes they'll make you feel darn right shitty. You just got to block it all out and stay focused on this is what I'm trying to do and accomplish to advance the science. And if you're not really working in that area, then you have to say, this is what I'm trying to look for, and this is what I'm not. If I want to get to the answers, then I got to try to block out the drama. I got to try to block out the hoax or 3-ring circus thing that's going on. If we've determined they're a hoax, or fine, throw them on the die pile and move on. Let's just keep the thing moving forward. And if you stay focused on that, I think it's easy to stay excited and feeling like we're going to get somewhere here. But you feel like you're dragging 1,000-pound anchor behind you if you start getting wrapped up in the drama and all that shit that happens out there. And not to say it isn't interesting, but it's definitely, if your goal is to try to get to the bottom of the mystery and advance the science to bring forth answers, everything else is just a distraction, Yeah, and it can be a fun distraction for a few minutes, but you sure can't let it affect the way, like if I have somebody say to me, I don't know if I believe this, or I don't know if what you said about this or that, I don't know if I believe it. I don't care if you believe it or not. You can not believe it all day. It will not keep me from moving forward and doing what I'm doing. I don't have some burden of bringing you along on the faith train.
Right.
That's on you, So.
Yeah, again, it is tough waters to navigate. After all, at the end of the day, more than we ever deal with Sasquatch, we have to deal with people, because it's not going to be a solo that makes it happen unless grandma hits one tomorrow with a
Yeah.
car.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and for whatever reason she has the presence of mind to handle that correctly. You know, barring that, dude, it ain't gonna be one person.
Yeah.
It's gonna take more than one person. And I don't know. I'm excited. I'm hopeful. I'd say I'm very hopeful
I
to
think
the direction things are going. Yeah.
Joe over at Western Europe Bigfoot had Highcheck on tonight on his show, and he asked him, he said, Doug, I want to ask you a question. He says, if tomorrow somebody hauls in a body and says it's real, what does Doug Highcheck do from now on? And Doug says, well, I hope it's somebody I know well enough that I can go over and look at the thing, because I got
And
a
being
thousand
involved. Yeah.
questions I want to get answered.
Right.
Depending on where it ends up an hour after somebody hauls it in, we might never get questions answered. So, you know,
Yeah.
and it brought up the interesting idea that right now, what's the one thing we argue about? Whether it's real or not. What will be the things we argue about the day after we prove to the world that it's real? Here's the body. Now we're going to argue about how many are there? Where are they? What's the
Yeah.
origin? Are there different DNA strains? If there's any human DNA detected in the DNA, what rights is it entitled to? We're going to argue about 10,000 different things. Right now, we're only arguing about whether or not it's real.
Right.
I mean, this is going to go full ape shit once a body's brought in. So, you know, when people say, look, I just want an answer so it can be over with, it'll just be starting at that point.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And we will have millions and millions of new people to the discussion of those things. That's the point. It's bigger than people realize.
I know the day that a body is hauled in, I want to own as much stock in drone companies as I can. I mean, people are just going to be like, holy shit, I got to buy game cameras. I got to buy, you know, everybody's going to be on the hunt to try to.
That's a good investment anyway. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. They won't get anywhere with their game cameras. We both know that. There's already millions and millions of game cams, man, and no good footage from that. So
yeah, Lockbeard says people suck. He says we don't know that about Bigfoot yet. Maybe they don't suck as much as we do.
yeah, I mean, I'm on the fence, dude. Like for years now, I've been on the fence about, you know, if I could push the button and make discovery happen, like, would I push that button or not?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure, dude. I'm not sure. My inclination is to want to, you know, but that might be personal. Like one of those things. Like, hey, I told you. Screw you! I told you. Like I was right. You were wrong. Like I wasn't the crazy person, you know, so I push that button and everybody understands, right? You know, yeah, but that's just personal. What's good for us? What's good for them? I don't know, man. Maybe it's just fine where it is right now. And maybe it'll always be just fine the way it is right now. I don't know. But I think technology is just going to catch up, man. There's no escaping that, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's if you look at how you can track anything now in basically known habitated areas, whether it be through your car, through cameras on stoplights, everything else, but it's when these unhabitated areas start to be mappable and monitorable that technology isn't far from that, I don't think.
Here's the thing, and this was a thought in my head earlier today. is that, look, you stupid things, you have got to stop flirting with humanity.
Yeah. Hey, do me a favor. Pull Patty Troy's last argument or comment up here.
Wait, the what about throwing the log?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to point out, Patty, that I said, because I saw one when I was young, I feel like I know the answer to a question that I haven't figured out the math problem that leads to it. I feel like I know the answer because I had an experience, which you have mentioned here. I don't have to argue if they're real. I know they're real. That just because I know it doesn't mean that the community knows it or everybody has proof. My experience isn't evidence to prove that it's real for anybody other than me. So that's why when I talk about, we have to show that it's real, or people saying, is it real or not? That when I say that's all we argue about now is it real or not? Next, we'll be arguing about all these other things. I'm not talking about me. I know it's real. I actually prerequisited what I said by stating, because I had that experience when I was younger. To me, I know that it's real. When I say right now, all we argue about is if it's real or not, I mean the community, not necessarily me. Just so that you understand. I kind of feel like maybe somebody's trying to call me out into, well, why would he say this when he says that? You're misperceiving this.
All right, cool. Good deal. No, she says all good.
Okay.
All good. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not looking for a fight here. I just want to be clear that,
sure.
When I acknowledge that right now the community is torn apart, and like when I share my experience with somebody and they have questions about it, or they say, well, I'm not sure that just seems unbelievable to me. I'm fine with that. And I've said this before, had I never had that encounter when I was 18 years old, I would have quit researching a long time ago. I probably would have just flat out left this community a long time ago, because if I didn't have some hardcore experience that shows me indefinitely that it's real, if I was looking for the answers in the community and the things people say and all this, when you start factoring in all the hoaxers and all the blurry pictures and everything else, I'm not going to say I would have been strong enough not to just raise the white flag and say, fuck all this. This is bullshit.
No, I hear you.
Yeah. So
I hear you, man. But I mean, it's all good.
So you doing a show Sunday?
I have nothing planned for Sunday.
We still got to do a music show.
Yeah, I want to do the music show, but I'm telling you, that's something I have to put together as well.
Yeah.
Because
the right panel of 4, maybe 5.
Yes.
People who have
yes.
We could, it'd be cool if it was really, I don't want to say parametered into like that 70s, 80s, 90s era, but I mean, that's probably the one I'm most familiar. You start talking about today's current artists, I'm familiar with a lot of them, but I think my biggest appreciation for music started to dwindle come the end of the 2000s. It just started feeling, there's still some new bands out there that I find really intriguing, but
yeah, no, there's some good bands out there.
When me and you start talking about the bands that were in the late 80s and the 90s that were influential to us, that we went and saw live and stuff like that, it's like, man, you just get lost in those conversations. And I think that for people let's be honest, that show isn't going to be for everybody, but there'll probably be a lot of people who like that show who aren't really normally on your show either,
Yeah, well, the way I look at it is, I mean, I have 800 plus subscribers right now, and everyone loves music. Like, there's no one that's like, oh, I hate music.
And everybody's got a story to tell.
Yeah.
I mean, if
So-
you just said, hey, what's the coolest concert you'd ever been to? Or have you ever met an artist?
Exactly.
I mean, shit, almost everybody in chat has a story to tell. So
Yeah. So I mean, I'd like to do that show, but I mean, I kind of have it in my mind of who I want to be on that show. I don't know. I mean, maybe it could be as easy as, half the people I'm thinking. I don't know. But
and it could be something where, if you want to come on, pop on for 5 minutes a piece to come on and tell 5-10 minutes, tell us what was your favorite concert, or do you have a unique story about somebody famous, an artist that you met? I'd love to hear other people's stories. That's some of the funnest parts about it. But
yeah, sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
not to say you open it up to a free-for-all, but maybe if somebody says, hey, I've got a really cool story, well, for instance, right now, email Pat if you've got a great story about being backstage somewhere, or a cool conversation you had with an artist.
Sure.
Email Pat the story now, because I mean, maybe you could line it up where there's 4 or 5 people you would pull on to tell these stories they've shared with you.
Sure.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. I mean, I want to do a music show. That's 100% for sure. I also want to do the Walking Dead shows. That's a story I need to tell personally. So I'll do those. And then, of course, the other YouTuber series, I'm going to keep trying to bring people into that. I want to do different things. But, of course, we're going to talk Squatch Tuesdays and Fridays. Always be here to talk Squatch. So, that's not going anywhere at all. Because I'm pretty deep into that that subject, so always be here for that. But before I let you go, the fight kind of last thing I wanted to say, man, is that the thought that went through my head earlier is these things are they get close to us. And they don't have to. They have tens, hundreds, whatever, millions of acres of freaking the exact same forest to work with, way the hell away from us. But yet they choose to get close to us, obviously. And this isn't us. I hate people saying we're encroaching on them. No, we're not, actually. That's not a thing. I'm not saying that's never happened, okay? But no. When they have millions and millions of remote areas to work with, there are plenty of deer out there. There's plenty of squirrel out there. There's plenty of possum, whatever the hell they eat, right? All that stuff lives out there too. But they get close to us and they flirt with us. And that's going to be their undoing, because they need to stop doing that.
Well, first of all, the number of, let's say, square miles that are metro areas, suburban areas, fairly well habitated areas in North America are only about probably 1/5 or 1/6 of the total square miles that are completely uninhabited. You start looking at the forested and uninhabited areas of North America versus the settled areas.
Vast majority.
Way more. So the idea that, we drove them out of this area. Yeah, you drove them out of that small area. Look at what they could. I mean, they don't have an issue with being remote and elusive if that's really all they want to be. They could be like that for an awful long time from now. We are never going to catch up to where we inhabited all those areas. But you're right. Whether it's, I think they primarily operate out of 2 factors, and that's curiosity and fear. I think their curiosity brings them to those areas. It brings them to the edges where they punch through, whether it be for food resources or
Gonna be their
curiosity
downfall,
or
though.
They're wondering about interaction. They're trying to figure it out. Is there a way to do it safely without being at risk? There's always this curiosity to some extent that seems to bring them to these edges. They don't need to be on those edges. There's plenty of seclusion and food and water away from those edges. It's their curiosity that brings them there. That can only be the only answer. It's not that they don't have another option. They have an infinite option. And yet they choose at times to get on these edges. And I just really feel that's the curiosity thing. I've always said, I think that their weakest chink in the armor is their own curiosity. That will be the fall. That will be what leads to the video or whatever. You got them curious to keep, similar to kind of how I tried to develop a research technique that was to not threaten them with wood knocking or calling out or any of the other stuff. I don't pretend that, just for all you know, I don't realize you're there. But I'm going to leave things that will make you curious to hopefully get you developed into a routine where you keep getting more and more curious and more comfortable being curious about them. And, that was the whole idea of it. The whole fear thing is, when people say, well, I walked up on one and it screamed, or one ran up and pushed my car, or one would. I think those are fear reactions. They aren't curious reactions. It felt like the fight or flight, and maybe there was a moment of fight to an extent before it retreated. But for the most part, it's their curiosity that brings them to the edges. They don't need to come there to feed. They don't need to come there for water. They don't need to come there to be alone. They come there because they're curious. That's the only way I can explain it. It's the only thing that seems to be plausible to me.
But it will be their downfall, because
exactly, it's the only thing that is predictable about them, is that they do become curious about things to where they don't run away, or they linger that moment longer than they should have, and they got seen or whatever. But it's curiosity that puts them in those exploitable positions, it seems.
Yeah, and they there's no way they can wrap their head around our extension of humanity. They might think that we're sloppy on the ground. They don't understand what we're capable of intellectually. They can never wrap their head around that. If it's not this year or next year, where the technology finally catches up to them, it damn sure will be 50 years from now. Like, I mean, that's inarguable. The technology is there, or it's coming, unless we destroy ourselves, unless we bomb ourselves back to the Stone Age, right? Which could happen too. But let's just assume we keep going on the path we've been on. If it is not this year or next year, it damn sure will be 50 years from now. They can't avoid it. It's unavoidable for them. So they better stop flirting with us now and just go retreat into those remote areas and and hey.
Well, you can stop being mad about something. You can stop being happy about something. You can stop being hungry. You can stop being tired. Those all have solutions to it. You can't stop being curious. Once you become curious about something, you're just curious about it. Till you get an answer, you're always curious about it.
And that there's the irony in that is you and your curiosity and my curiosity.
Yeah.
So like
it's why people keep coming back every Tuesday and Friday night. It's like, what the hell are you doing?
So we're just
curious.
We're just as curious as they are.
Yep.
My only point is that our extension of ourselves will catch up to them. Like, that much I know for a fact. And they can't, that we know of, they can't extend themselves, you know. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna wrap it up, dude.
I hear you. You take it easy. I'll if you end up popping on Sunday, I'll see you. Otherwise, I don't have a guest Monday night. I'm gonna spend Monday night kind of doing a recap on all of our 2021 research. I'm gonna show
Cool.
I'm gonna show some maps and some satellite images of the actual clearing I looked at, the other clearings we considered, the river I kayaked up. I'll show you everything. I even got a satellite image of my truck parked there.
All right, full transparency. Full transparency. I love it. Yes.
I was showing Pat the images of it the other day, and I zoomed in and I was like, holy shit, right there where I launched my kayak, that's my truck and trailer parked right there.
Truck, yeah. There, and see, the truck is in my satellite image. Yeah.
Well, then I had to go and scour the whole river to say, you got to be able to see me paddling somewhere. Where am I? You know, and I can't find it on there, but
it's a little harder to find.
It is. Yeah. It's when you see the river, you'll understand. There are rocks and everything there's a lot of. It's not a straight line river. This thing has more S's in it than.
It's more crookeder than a black snake. That's what we say down south.
No, but that'll be fun Monday night to kind of go over that. I know a lot of people have been like, well, can you tell us where it was, or what did it look like, or what's the map look like?
Sure.
And we really didn't know if we were going to use the area again, and we've kind of came to the conclusion that we aren't. There is an area not real far from there that we might look at, but this particular we're not going to use again. And so I have no reason not to show it to everybody. If somebody's ever up in that neck of the woods, go check it out. But yeah, that should be fun.
Yeah, no, I dig it. Good stuff. Why can't I get rid of this? Gee, what's going on here? Oh, there it is. But yeah, dude, I'm gonna wrap it up. And everybody tune in to Pine Island Research YouTube channel on Monday. And you'll get a lot more personal inside information on Jeff and his research area and some things that happen there.
All right, buddy. You take care. Thanks for letting me pop on.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon, man. I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks, everybody, for watching tonight. Good show. And, yeah. We'll be back next week. Maybe Sunday. I might do a special Sunday show. Probably not, actually. Now I think about it. Most likely not. But thanks for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. See you next time.